Hey guys, it's your average middle-aged American back again with another reaction video. This one says that Spain and Portugal have been hit by a power outage. Spain, Portugal, and parts of France hit by massive power outage. Trains stopped, airports affected. What's going on, guys? If you're there, let me know. Today is April 28th. It is the morning here in America. And I just saw this. So let me know. Let's see what's going on.
And breaking developments coming in right this minute from Europe. Spain, Portugal, and parts of France hit by a massive power outage, a major power outage hitting Spain and Portugal, leaving millions without electricity. As per the latest coming in, reports indicate issues with the European electric grid is what is known as of now. In fact, the Spanish power grid operator, Red Eléctrica, has said that it is working with the energy companies to restore power. The Barajas International Airport there was left without power, while telecommunications have been affected as well. And play has been suspended at the Madrid Open tennis tournament as the details continue to come in the aftermath of what's happened. Parts of France also appear to be impacted, in fact, according to Spanish media reports, which said that several parts were hit by the outage, and areas bordering Spain are also reporting being hit by the blackout. And as of now, the cause is unclear. As we continue to monitor the latest coming in, reports indicating issues with the European electric grid, as a result of which, as per reports, power outages have been reported. Spain, Portugal, parts of France hit by that massive power outage, as a result of which we're seeing millions without electricity. And as of now, the cause is unclear. Reports indicating that there is an issue, that there are issues with the European electric grid is what is known at this point.
Okay, I'm confused. Spain, Portugal, and France are three separate countries. You guys share an electric grid? You know, I understand that European countries are not as big as America, but even in America, we have different parts of the countries have different grids. So, you know, the East Coast could go out without affecting the West Coast at all, and vice versa. Let me know what's going on. Does anybody think this is a deliberate thing, a crime? I don't know if I'm allowed to say terrorism, but who knows? I'm going to go ahead and say it. Anybody think this is some kind of terrorist attack on the grid? Maybe a test to see how vulnerable the grid is? You know, American grids get attacked a lot. A lot. Do any of you guys have solar? Do you have battery backups? Do you have generators? Tell me what's going on. I know that in America we have a lot more natural disasters. We have more tornadoes and hurricanes and forest fires, that kind of thing. We seem to always have some kind of an emergency going on in some state. You know, California, Washington, Oregon, Florida, Texas, New York, New Jersey. There's always something going on where there's a good chance of losing power or worse. I'm just curious if you guys have any kind of personal emergency equipment. You know, this thing behind me, that thing right there, that's a battery backup system. So, like, if our power goes out, you know, I've got several of those. Um, this one's in here for my computer and stuff, so I can just plug in things and it will run. We'll run our refrigerators. We can run a small air conditioner. We can run TV, our computers, our cell phones, charge, that kind of stuff. You guys have anything like that? Is that normal? Or is that just crazy American stuff? And I've been thinking hard about getting solar on our roof. Where we are, solar doesn't save us a ton of money because our electric's actually pretty cheap, but we're not in California. Like, if you're in California, solar's a no-brainer. But here it's kind of expensive and it doesn't save you a lot. But you can get these batteries that go on the wall And when your power goes out, it just clicks right over and you don't even know. And then your batteries will run your system at night while your solar panels run your system during the day. Let me know. I'm concerned about you guys. I'm going to look at some more news and see if I can find anything else. Just saw this pop up.
With breaking news, large parts of Spain and Portugal have been hit by a power outage. Footage from Madrid shows chaotic scenes as the traffic lights stopped working. The Spanish rail company says the outage is at a national level and that trains are stopped and no departures are taking place. Local radio is reporting that parts of Madrid underground are being evacuated. Well, the Spanish power grid operator Red Eléctrica said it was working with the energy companies to try to restore power. We're also hearing reports from Reuters that parts of France briefly lost power following the outages that have also been reported in Portugal as well.
What's going on, guys? Let me know what's going on. I'm a little concerned for you guys. Thank God it's during the day. Let's see, I think you're about 6 or 7 hours, 8 hours ahead of me. How long is it going to be before you guys lose daylight? Because when you lose power at night, it's a lot different than losing power during the day. And you guys don't use air conditionings that much anyway, so although it may be cold over there, I don't know. I got to figure this whole thing out with the weather and the time zones and the daylight and all that. I know it's completely different where you guys are at, but got so much to learn. I got so much to learn. Tell me if you guys are all right. Tell me what's going on. What have you heard? And if you guys have any personal, any emergency equipment, anything that, I've got clients that, they have these giant gas generators. Some of them have solar, some of them have, solar with batteries, and they lose power just like nothing. All the neighbors could be out and then their generator just kicks on by itself and it's good for like a week or two. And then they can just, keep filling it up with gasoline, petrol.
The Spanish government, we're hearing, has convened a crisis meeting at the offices of Red Eléctrica due to the power outage. This is coming from the Spanish newspaper El País, who is reporting that. Let's show you the scenes from Lisbon. Portugal has also been hit by the outages. Those are the scenes there. It does seem like the traffic is moving, but I think it's just really confusing situation on the ground. Nobody really seems to know what's happening. Absolutely no word at all on what potentially could have caused this. The Spanish airport operator says that Spanish airports are suffering some disruption due to the power outage, but that they have contingency generators that are active.
Isn't it weird that traffic lights don't have their own generators? I mean, with all the technology that we have, how hard would it be to throw some solar panels on some kind of a structure, have a battery, and then have it power? I mean, it's not that hard to power a street light. Or not a street light, a traffic light. You would think that those things would be, there's a big difference between trying to power all the lights and just powering traffic lights to stop the chaos. It's very weird to me that it's 3 different countries are affected at the same time. I think we have 5 or 6 different power grids in our country. And you guys have you share a power grid with other countries? Is that part of an EU thing? Is that an EU agreement? Let me know. I'm worried about you guys.
Countries, Spain and Portugal, have a combined population of more than 50 million people. So a lot of people potentially affected here. The Spanish generator Red Eléctrica says that the Iberian peninsula has been the worst affected. Well, let's bring in our correspondent Amelia Harper who's keeping an eye across all of this. Amelia, any clearer about what on earth is going on?
No, this is information that is coming in really thick and fast, and as per those pictures there, you can see that traffic is moving and trying to, from what we are looking at, trying to make its way around pedestrians as there are power outages to those traffic lights, meaning that there is just utter chaos from that live shot there in Lisbon. But we understand that this power cut happened at about 11:30 UK time, and the population of both Spain and Portugal is about 50 million people. So you can imagine just the scale of the impact that this is having. Those are some images there of some of the traffic that's come to a stop due to the traffic light issues. And as you were mentioning before, Spanish power grid operator Red Eléctrica has confirmed that there are outages across the country. They say it's working to restore the power as quickly as they can. They're working also to analyse what has caused the blackouts, because at this stage it's still very much unclear. In a post on X, the company said all resources are being dedicated to solving it. And it's actually so severe that Spain's Prime Minister and Energy Minister are travelling to their headquarters, the actual grid operators' headquarters, to monitor the situation. So I think if we go through first the roads, we've got live pictures there of what's happening on the roads. Traffic lights have stopped working and cars appear to just be making their own way as they can through the city. On the trains, I think the same thing, the same situation. The national railway company Renfe says the entire national electricity grid was cut off this morning. And as you said earlier,
You guys just walk out in front of cars that are moving like it's nothing. I mean, like it's nothing. Like this guy, these people stopped and let the guy go through, and then the other people were like, yeah, we're going to go through too. And this guy had to slam on his brakes. Crazy. What do you think's going on? You think this is some kind of cyber attack? You guys have pretty modern, grids. Our grids in America are not really up to speed. They really are not. With all the technology and all the money we spend and all that, our grids, people have been warning Americans for probably 10 years that our grids are subject to real problems from cyber terrorism, from physical terrorism. A lot of people want to go back to nuclear to power these, larger cities and stuff. And some of them are actually going to solar themselves, the actual power companies. Let me know where you guys are technology-wise. It seems like more than just some kind of a blown transformer or something. This is like some kind of a situation here. And tell me what you guys are doing personally. I get it. A lot of you don't have air conditioners or anything, so it's not that big of a deal. You got some flashlights, and that's all you got to really worry about. Once you get home, if you can, deal with all this traffic. And what happened? I love your train system. I love it. But this is a situation. What happens when you take a train 45 minutes or an hour to work every day, and now you're stuck on the other side of the country and the trains aren't running? I guess you could take a taxi or something, but boy, that'd be expensive, I would assume. This is an odd situation. Let me know if you guys know anything. Hey, look, it says Putin's going to do a ceasefire over here on the right.
It means that trains have stopped, and departing trains that were meant to be leaving stations in Spain have also been stopped. We can see that live shot there. Those traffic lights look like there's nothing happening at all. And Spanish radio reporting that Madrid's underground is being evacuated. As we go through this afternoon, there will be more details coming in. But at the moment, information is quite
What is Madrid's underground? Is that like a subway? Is that what they're talking about? Or are they just talking about a whole group of people that are living underground like in Demolition Man? Which you probably have no idea what Demolition Man is. It's a great movie. Sylvester Stallone, America's Sweetheart. What's her name? Sandra Bullock. Demolition Man. It's cheesy and it's old, but it's a fun movie. And people lived underground eating rat burgers. All right, back to the crisis.
Quite scarce, and that is partly because there is the suggestion that phone lines and internet networks are being badly impacted as well. Messages that are being sent from here to people in Spain are not getting there, so information coming in dribs and drabs. We've addressed the trains. Now let's look at planes. So local media outlets in Spain are reporting that the power is out at the main airport that services Madrid. That's Barajas Airport, and this is actually an airport that handles over 66 million passengers, making it the busiest airport in Spain. So you can imagine the queues and the frustration within those terminals this afternoon. In addition, this might not be the first thing you think of when you think of power outage and the impacts of power outage, but it's impacted some tennis tournament as well, including the Madrid Open. This is an annual clay tennis tournament that's been suspended due to this power outage. And what happened was this power outage affected scoreboards and a camera that actually sat in the play.
You guys play tennis? Is that a big sport in Spain and Portugal? I love tennis. I haven't played in a while. I'm obviously out of shape, but I played my entire childhood. You know, did the whole thing, lessons, tournaments, the whole shebang. I love playing tennis on clay. We don't play it that often on clay in America, but clay is just, it's the best. Because you can slide, you know, when you run into, you know, hit a baseline shot or whatever, and you're running full force, and then you just stop and slide into the shot. It's I've never played on grass because I'm not exactly going to Wimbledon very often, but concrete's the normal. But man, clay is sweet, and it's easier to when the ball marks, you know, if you have a question on whether the shot's in or out, you know, it leaves a little skid mark, you know, in the top layer of the clay, you know, where the lines are. Reminiscing. I need to get my big, average, middle-aged American butt back on a tennis court. Maybe I'll join a senior league or something. I wonder if they have those. They have to have those, right? Let me know. You play tennis? Racquetball? Squash? That kind of stuff? Pickleball? Is pickleball a big deal now in Spain? Portugal? Let me know. I might like pickleball because it's like tennis without the impact. It's like low impact tennis. Plus, you can't play tennis with people that aren't as good as you. It's like the worst experience in the world. Like I tried to play racquetball with my wife when we were dating. I don't even think we were married yet. And she, you know, twisted her ankle up. She was out for like 10 days. It was bad. You gotta play with people on your skill level. But I think that's the deal with pickleballs. It's more social and I think it evens the playing field a little bit because there's no real, you know, you're not hitting a pickleball ball 130 miles an hour. Let me know.
Let's start with that massive power cut that has hit large parts of Spain and Portugal. Public transport, communications and many businesses have been affected. Hospitals are operating normally. They have generators, so that's some good news from there. But what is not known at the moment is what caused the problem. But Spanish and Portuguese governments have been holding emergency meetings after the outage. We are closely watching all the news coming out of Spain and Portugal, and we've just heard from the Spanish grid operator RTVE that says restoring power could take between 6 and 10 hours from now. Well, our correspondent Joe...
That's not bad. I thought she was going to say 6 to 10 days. 6 to 10 hours. You guys are all right. All right, good. Good.
Has been looking at what has been happening. So many different reports coming in of chaos, particularly when it comes to transport. Joe.
Yeah, public transport is going to be one of the areas hit hardest, and it seems that metro, subway, underground systems across the peninsula, Spain and Portugal, are out of action. Traffic lights as well. We've got images coming in from Madrid and elsewhere of all the traffic lights down, and obviously the ensuing chaos you get when that happens. We're so used to these things just working automatically, and when they go down, well, you can imagine what happens.
So what do we know then?
See, I understand the trains and subways and stuff not working, but how can anybody justify not spending the money to have generators of some sort, whether that's battery or gas or diesel or whatever, for traffic lights? Because when the trains go down and the subway goes down, if at least the traffic works, then you can get a taxi, or the government can shove out a whole bunch of buses or whatever, and you still have that option. But you're losing every form of transportation. You're losing automotive, you're losing taxi, you're losing buses, you're losing subway, you're losing trains, you're losing airplanes. All from one grid, problem. I hope they look at this and fix it. And it's not, trust me, it's not a Europe thing. I got traffic lights going down randomly in America without a power grid problem. So it's not a European thing at all. I just don't know why. I just think every traffic light should have its own backup, its own power supply. Really, it couldn't be that hard. It really couldn't. You just put a little transformer box on every corner. Traffic lights are LED these days. They don't use as much power as they used to. Even if the traffic lights went on a system, it doesn't even have to go on the normal traffic grid system. That stuff's all linked together, determine, the traffic flow patterns and all that nonsense. It wouldn't even have to do that. It could just default. When it loses power, it could just default to 15 seconds red on one side, 15 seconds green on the other, and then vice versa, and just flip back and forth. That's all it'd have to do just to keep traffic moving. Even though it may be a little lopsided, at least it would still, be functioning. That's it. Completely independent. Loses power, bang. It goes to an automatic 15 green, 15 red, 15 green, 15 red. Simple. Invent it. If you want to invent it, I'll take 10%. It was my idea. Appreciate you. It looks like you guys are going to be all right. Glad to hear it.
Then, Joe, of what actually the problem is and what's gone wrong?
At this point, nothing. At this point, I've not seen any reports that say what caused this massive power outage. We do know the scale of it. It seems really a large amount of the Iberian Peninsula, as I say, of Spain and Portugal have been taken down.
And parts of France as well.
Parts of France as well, yeah. So Red Eléctrica is the state-owned network company. So they're not the electricity generators. They're the ones that get it from the power stations to your home, to your business. So they obviously have some stations, or they have power lines that go into France as well, it seems. And so there's been a mild effect there. But I think the main effect, the biggest impact is, as I said, in Spain and Portugal. And
we've just been hearing that it could be 6 to 10 hours before services are restored. It's a long time for people to be without power, possibly needing to get home, or they're...
If you don't have some kind of an emergency system, you really should look into it. There's a couple different brands. I'm not endorsing them. I don't make any money on them or anything else, but like the little individual portable systems. I do Jackery mostly. Jackery's a solid brand in America. And they can do, like, I've got units, we can put in a window unit air conditioner. I have got an emergency window unit air conditioner with a whole panel and everything that it goes in, that we don't keep it in the window, but it's available. We keep it in the closet in our guest bedroom. And if we lose power, then we just go into our guest bedroom and shut the door and then put that window air conditioner in, and it will power um, the window unit for like between 6 and 8 hours. So the idea is you charge it during the day off of like we use a gas generator to charge it until we get solar panels. So we have air conditioning during the day off a generator, which is also charging the battery. And then at night, when you don't want to run a generator because it makes noise, then it runs on the battery all night. So we have one room that has a TV and air conditioning, and then of course you can power your cell phones and laptops and all that stuff. So Jackery is a good brand. EcoFlow is a popular brand. But check them out if you don't have something like that, because they're really nice to have, just for nothing else. But even a small version, they can get very expensive. They get into thousands of dollars, but even a small one can do your cell phone. I've got a small one. I've got different size ones for different people in the family, you know. So I got a small one you hand the kid. They plug in his video games, whatever, and it doesn't mess up your stuff, you know. And then, but you get a small one. A small one will charge a laptop up completely, and then probably a cell phone, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So they're very, very useful. And if you don't have something like that, you should think about getting it. Like I said, you know, obviously I'm not making any money off of it. I'm just telling you, they're very, very useful. Now, if you're out, you know, if you lose power for a month, it's going to be a problem. But this is a perfect example. Somebody who works out of their house and loses power right now, you know, they can plug in a fan, you know, and charge their cell phone up and charge their laptop up. Anyway, I'm glad you guys are all right.
Phones might go down. I mean, this is going to have a massive effect.
It is. I mean, luckily, just kind of looking at the times now, luckily it seems that by the time it starts to get really dark, people will start to get the power back on. But as you say, you know, all of our lives are completely dependent on this. And so for, you know, people who are trying to go about their work, just live their normal life, it's going to be very, very difficult. As you mentioned before, though, of course, there are lots of places that have contingency backup. You know, if you're a hospital, well, you're luckily not going to be affected with larger hospitals. But we saw recently, I mean, it's obviously a separate issue, a separate cause, but with the fire we had at substations that took out Heathrow Airport and the amount of time it took that to get back on and the disruption caused. And
yeah, you know, we take it all for granted, guys. You know, and I don't want to be the crazy, you know, doomsday guy, but it is by far the easiest way to throw a country into complete chaos. If you cut off power, and I know how you guys shop differently than we do. You know, you're all about getting, you know, going to the fresh market and all that, and you know, you go to the local store every couple of days, and you don't, you know, you have very small refrigerators, that kind of thing. This is where it becomes a problem. If you lose power and you have no backup power and there's an emergency, you know, you don't have enough supplies. And so this is the big fear for people that are worried about terrorism and that kind of thing. All you got to do is if you lose power, let's say you lose power for a week. Imagine if your country had no power for 7 days straight. And you couldn't go to the grocery store. You couldn't get gas for your car if you have one. You couldn't use any public transportation. So you couldn't get any food. Let's say you have a water problem. You know, so now you don't have drinking water. God forbid if you had something like COVID breakout at the same time you lost power. So just think about that. You know, just think about the little things. Think about trying to maybe put some canned goods, you know, canned food aside and some kind of a way of, make sure you have a good first aid kit and a couple of good flashlights and, a way to charge up your electronic devices at least. You don't need to run your whole house off of anything, but just some thoughts. But that is in America, when we talk about terrorism, it's almost always talking about messing up the grid. We're so reliant on power and availability of supplies, food. In America, the average grocery store will run out of food in 3 days. They literally get trucks every single day of the week. So if those trucks stop coming, or the refrigerators aren't working, or whatever, the grocery store, if there's an emergency, like when we had COVID, everyone ran out of toilet paper. Everyone ran out of, milk and, different things because everyone went to try to go get it at the same time, and the grocery store just didn't have enough, and they weren't getting, replenished fast enough. It's a real deal. Water. I mean, every time there's a hurricane coming, to Texas or to the East Coast or, Florida or South Carolina, every grocery store within the entire state will run out of water within like 24 hours. So anyway, just give us some food for thought. I don't know how often you guys actually lose power, but coming from a country that loses it periodically, it can be very scary, especially at night. It can get kind of weird. Think about it. No street lights, no home lights, no coach lights, no, yard lighting. There's just no lights anywhere. Pitch black. You guys will be all right.
And that's just one airport. So in terms of the disruption we're going to be seeing from entire country losing power, well, that's going to be incredibly significant.
Joe, thank you so much.
All right, well, there you go. I'm going to wrap this up. I will keep checking, see if anything happens. You got to think about it, man. It's scary. Scary stuff. Power going out for 7 hours, no big deal. Power going out for 7 days, big deal. The other thing you got to think about too is what happens when the power goes out in the winter. What happens when it's, you lose fuel? What if it's a cyber attack? What if it's a cyber attack on something else? Infrastructure of, travel, or infrastructure of fuel. Like Germany. I know Germany buys a lot of fuel from Russia and stuff. And I know a lot of Europe buys a lot of fuel from other countries. What happens if that gets interrupted? What happens if those pipelines get blown apart or whatever? God forbid, what happens if both of them happen the same? What happens if you lose fuel and you lose electricity? Well, let me know what you guys are doing. Let me know how popular solar is. You get enough exposure, maybe it's not even worth the money because you can't get enough sun. I don't know. Let me know. I appreciate all of you guys. I will do some more fun videos than this. So check out my channel, and I will see you soon. Take care, guys. Thanks for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Can you believe that we now have over 1,000 subscribers and over 100 videos in our YouTube library? Me neither. It's been less than a year, and this channel has grown so rapidly. What's more important than the number of subscribers is the quality of subscribers. Our subscribers are knowledgeable and generous with their time. They teach us about their country and their culture from their firsthand experiences. See, over 95% of my subscribers live outside of the United States. So we're getting information firsthand. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that button. I think you'll enjoy it, and it doesn't cost you anything. If you'd like to see other videos similar to this one on the same country, click here. If you'd like to see some videos on some other countries in Europe, click there. Want to see some of the most beautiful castles and cathedrals in the world? They're over here. Want to check out the United States? We're down here. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.